The Speakmans, along with Bryan and Jo. Shirley, join us now.
Welcome.
How close was it to total disaster in the relationship, do you think?
Very close.
Yeah.
Very close, yeah.
And so, what you did there, Nick and Eva, was, I mean, obviously it's a VT, we cut it short, so what was the amount of time that you worked with Bryan?
It was about 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes.
And what's the crux of that? What did you do?
The crux of it was just taking things into perspective and looking at it in a different way, because they were both absolutely terrified that they were going to be attacked on a continual basis based on this one attack. And yet they lived in the house for 18 years. No one had ever burgled the house before, and even since. And
they took it really personally, so they were always looking over the shoulder. I mean, eventually they moved into a hotel, but up until that point, Bryan was living in the bedroom next to a panic button, and all we helped them to do was to see that it actually wasn't about them. They were feeling in danger because they believed it was personal, but it was just about possessions, and they kept saying to us, we don't do blame, we don't have anything, and yet they were taking it personal. So really the turning point was explaining that to them.
And lots of people go through this. Lots of people have their homes burgled, and they'll maybe not to the extent and the violence that you have, but they will still feel that inside, that personal thing inside. Yeah. What can they do watching this to kind of have that same feeling? If it's about readdressing the way you think.
It is. I mean, obviously, your home is your safe point, and the moment that's violated, suddenly you feel, as Bryan and Jo did, that you're constantly in danger. But the facts are that it is a one-off. It is about possessions. It's not about the person. And if that does happen to somebody, you know, talk about it. Speak to your GP. Maybe get some counselling or some therapy. But put it into perspective and realise it was never about you. Get back into routines as well, because I think that suddenly it's all about the burglary as opposed to what life was before the burglary.
And so what is life like now? I mean, you look like different people to the beginning of that VT. Your face has changed. It's like you see this lightness come back, like the life's come back in your eyes.
Yeah, I was always known for being cheeky, and apparently I've got that cheekiness back.
Yes, goodness.
More so today.
Good.
Yeah.
And so for someone who has, I mean, if you could do this directly, if you have been the victim of a crime like this, what do you do? What can you say to anyone who has been that person?
I think the big thing is, as Eva said, just not to take it personally, because in that moment, and I know that Bryan was trying to consider who have I spoken to, who could have known that, you know, that this was going to happen. But ultimately, it's about possessions. It's not about a physical attack and a personal attack. Yeah. And when you accepted that, you could let that go. And I think that's the main thing. Obviously, there's other issues. I mean, what we were surprised is that most burglaries happen between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. So people that want to take possessions, they don't want to encounter anybody.
Yeah. And don't lose sight of the many times that you've been safe. Because, you know, it's not about what happened in that moment. That moment does not represent your life. You know, life is everything else that's going about it. It's just a small component. It was about a possession. It wasn't about you. And you didn't put your alarm on either at that day. And obviously, so it was an opportunist that saw a moment. So obviously, unfortunately, we live in an age now where we do have to be a little bit more careful as well. But that doesn't represent your life. Literally, it was less than 10 minutes.
But that's what you guys did for me. You managed to separate it from being personal to I was just an inconvenience that happened to go down while they were trying to find things. So.
Well, go and enjoy your life. I imagine it's the first time you slept properly for a very long time, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Well,
yeah, they've definitely made life a lot better for us, and definitely cured us.
Good to hear it.
It's been fantastic.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant, as always.